Our meeting tonight is now open for the sharing of testimonies of healing through the study and practice of Christian Science. Ella from Canada. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'm most grateful for Christian Science and all the testimonies. As a child, I listened to my father's stories, who knew nothing about Christian Science. These stories were of how he got up alive after he was thrown on a pile of corpses as dead in Oświęcim, a Nazi concentration camp in southern Poland during the Second World War. Other stories were equally miraculous, which I could not recount in 4 minutes. Needless to say, my father, Zygmunt, could not explain his stories. Years later, when I was introduced to Christian Science, the healings kept me searching how to pray spiritually, not humanly, not through blind faith. As I progress at a snail's pace, these testimonies sustain my persistent effort to be wise and loving. I rent 2 rooms, 1 apartment in my house, and 1 room as an Airbnb. As I read how Mary Baker Eddy prayed and had watches in order to maintain a spiritual atmosphere at Pleasant View, I have become a copycat. I'm praying that our household expresses divine love and not human love. On Easter Sunday, I had invited the whole household and 3 friends for supper. The atmosphere was most uplifting, even though we had people who spoke Mexican, Polish, Ukrainian, Russian, and English. Divine love reigned. Google Translate helped to translate from Mexican to English, and laughter resounded as Google mistranslated things. There was a 6-month-old baby, and no one had any problem speaking baby talk to him. We truly have a Pleasant View in the making in Canada, and hope there are other Pleasant Views worldwide. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Donna from Oregon. Go ahead, please.
Hi, everyone. Sunday morning, I listen to the roundtable before church like I do every Sunday. I wouldn't miss it on purpose or anything. This Sunday's roundtable was especially good, like so many others are. So I hope everyone listening to me now was also listening on Sunday. Quite often, it's as though they're covering just exactly what I need help with at that time in my life. I've heard other church members say the same thing. It's like they knew what I needed help with and gave me the help I needed. If you don't listen to it, you sure should. I promise you won't be disappointed. I'm sure a lot of work goes into the preparation, and it shows. Quite often they cover current events, which gives me an insight that I may not have come up with on my own. Thank you, Mrs. Singletary, and anyone else who contributes their valuable time preparing Sunday's roundtable. I love it.
Thank you. Karen from California. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. A friend of mine wanted me to share an experience that a family member of hers had and how our church's website helped them to meet their need. Her niece's son had been seen by the vice principal of his school in a car with friends on school grounds who had in their possession a marijuana vape. The vice principal immediately assumed that everyone in the car had been smoking marijuana, and this was a serious offense. She wrote up a report and submitted it to the district for disciplinary action. The son of my friend's niece was an A student and had received letters of intent by Division I colleges to play baseball and receive a full scholarship. As a result of this incident, it looked like this young man's bright future was in jeopardy. He was also about to graduate from high school with honors, but if he were found guilty, this would prohibit him from graduating. What the vice principal saw was not the truth about the situation. The only way to keep this from impacting this young man's life was for him to go before the local and state district offices of education and report the truth about what was really going on. In the first place, one of the students did have a medical reason for the marijuana vape, but neither he nor anyone else in the car had been using the device. My friend's niece had been raised in Christian Science, and so her son had been exposed to it. He had never smoked marijuana. Shortly after I became a member of the Plainfield Independent Church, I told my friend about the church's website. She also had been raised in Christian Science and was very glad to know about the website and had started listening to our church services and articles. As my friend's niece's son began to prepare to defend himself before the district and state offices of education, my friend told them about the Plainfield Church website. On the website, they found the article God's Law of Adjustment by Adam Dickey. They began working with the truths pointed out in the article and knew they were laws of God that could be relied on whatever the circumstances. As a result of putting the ideas of this article into practice and trusting that the law of God is in operation at all times and under all circumstances, both the district and state offices of education overturned all infractions. This young man's record was completely restored, and with all requirements for graduation as a scholar athlete intact. My friend was so grateful for the church's website that is available to all seekers for the truth about God and His creation, any time of day or night. She also is grateful for all the watches that the members do, and knows that all of this contributed to her niece's son's successful outcome. She wants the members to know that as a result of our watches for the world, they continue to bless. This young man has been blessed beyond his imagination. He recently found out that he has been accepted at the college-level FAA pilots program, where upon graduation he will be a commercial pilot. I am also so grateful for our website. I am grateful to God for His infinite blessings, and to Christ Jesus, our way shower, and to our leader, Mary Baker Eddy, for her sacrifices to bring to mankind the promised Comforter, divine science. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth from New Hampshire. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. I would like to share an experience that I had many years ago. My husband and I were painting the railing of our deck, and I was working up on an 8-foot scaffolding. Suddenly and without warning, the bottom of the scaffolding fell to the ground, and I with it. I landed hard on my feet. I immediately proclaimed, "There has never been an accident, and man is unfallen, upright, and pure." My husband and several yard workers that were in the vicinity and witnessed this were very alarmed. The workers wanted to know if they should call an ambulance. Of course, my husband knew that we would not, and he knew from a lifetime of relying on God for everything that this was a good choice. For a few days, I could not put any weight on my right foot, but I stayed with what I knew to be true, and I knew that there had never been one instant when I was out of God's care. I was so extremely grateful to have Christian Science to turn to. Our textbooks, Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy, and the Bible are a constant comfort especially in times like these. One steady thought I remember having was that the material senses always lie. Our spiritual sense always tells the truth. So in spite of any picture of an injury or an accident, we learn in Christian Science that this is just a mesmeric state of thought. In reality, God knows nothing of it, and only what God knows is true or has power to effect any evidence. This is that he says, and I quote, "An acknowledgement of the perfection of the infinite unseen conveys a power nothing else can." And that power was indeed conveyed. I am so grateful to say that in a short time I was walking normally and with no pain. Many years have gone by and the healing has been complete. I'm so extremely thankful to God, to our way shower, Christ Jesus, to Mary Baker Eddy for the great sacrifices she made to bring her revelation to mankind, and to the Plainfield Christian Science Church for their dedication to their mission. And another note of gratitude, I recently ordered and received 2 very beautiful leather-bound books from Plainfield. They're sturdy pages containing a treasure trove of truth. The books are so beautifully bound, they will be read and cherished for years to come. Thank you so much. Good night.
Thank you.
Ron, North Carolina.
Ron from North Carolina. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Linda and I have 2 poodles, one young, enthusiastic, and entitled female, and an older, more subdued male. A few months back, we noticed that the male was hesitating when jumping up in the back of the car. Although he could still get up there, it was a much more labored effort. The veterinarian put a name to our dog's challenge and forecast it would only get worse with age. We invested in a ramp to help our 4-legged friend make his ascent into our car. It took some effort to convince him that the ramp was intended to make things easier and less painful. It was during one of these coaxing onto the ramp times when he took one look at the ramp, glanced at me, then jumped into the car as though he were a young buck. I interpreted that glance to say, "Why are you doing this to me?" And it was true. I had bought into the belief of age and the disease associated with age, and then reinforced these ideas with the means to help alleviate them. If I don't accept that about myself, why should I accept it about my dear friend? The ramp now sits on the back of the garage while our dog moves with ease in and out of our car, freed from a belief that he never entertained in the first place. I'm grateful to all of you at the Plainfield Church who are expressing and defending this science of being as was received and taught by Mary Baker Eddy. The practical application of these teachings apply to all life, regardless of what form it takes. Thank you.
Thank you. Shardy.
Hello. In atmosphere of love divine, we live and move and breathe. Though mortal eyes may see it not, 'tis sense that would deceive. That's hymn 144. 2 Saturday nights ago, I was awake much of the night listening to our website, and the morning found me with a pain in my head. Moving right along, I realized that during the round table, all the pain had vanished. I don't recall when it left, but I was very grateful and remained grateful. Seemingly a little thing, it is another proof that staying with God and drawing nigh to Him heals all situations that are unlike God. I also trusted that God was doing the work and that I would be able to do everything I needed to do without fear or concern. For God, immortal principle, is with us everywhere. He holds us perfect in His love, and we His image bear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy, New Jersey.
Nancy from New Jersey. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the beautiful readings tonight. I wanted to express my gratitude for the deeper sense of peace that I've been gaining through the study and application of Mrs. Eddy's Pure Christian Science, and through the guidance and the prayerful support of my practitioner, who reminds me very often to keep my feet on the ground, to stay grounded in the truth, and to stay in my Father's house. I'm so grateful for these instructions, as now I find that I'm learning to stay more peaceful and calm when facing troubling situations or hearing upsetting news. I'm learning that by holding to the truth and staying calm, I'm able to think clearer, to trust the truth, and to stay with God, counteracting the lies by declaring the truth instead of running around like I did in the past in all different directions and giving power to that lie and making it real. Mrs. Eddy tells us in Science and Health, page 260, hold thought steadfastly to the enduring, the good, and the true, and you will bring these into your experience proportionably to the occupancy of your thought. And I am learning that by staying in my Father's house and steadfastly holding my thought to the things of God, the good and the true, has been a great help in accomplishing this sense of peace. I'm so grateful for all that I am learning here, and I'm so grateful for all the many blessings I have received since attending the Plainfield Church. My deep gratitude to God, our loving Father, Mother, to Christ Jesus, our way shower, and our beloved leader, Mary Baker Eddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Florence, Georgia.
Florence from Georgia, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Gary, for your essential readings on the childlike trust in God. Surely trust in God is an imperative quality we must have or cultivate in our journey spiritual. If we trust God, we can be more confident in our reliance on God. If we trust Him, we could trust leaving things in His hands and know that He will only unfold what is good. If we trust Him, we will not be so shaken when we feel certain symptoms or when a medical verdict is given. If we trust God, our waiting on Him would be a lot more easier. I have found that we can have many years of just professing the truth without much trust in the power we declare while uttering the truth. We are advised to trust what we say. It's no use just saying it, but we gradually gain this trust, or we can ask God, Father, help me. As the Lord's Prayer say some things in there, like lead us not into temptation. All of these things help us to trust God more, and we can rely on Him then. I often think of people who don't have even hospitals to go to or medicine to take. What do? Is that same God not with them? And maybe this is how they develop their trust in God. I am so grateful for learning this on my way, how to just trust God, and that trusting meaning I'm glorifying Him. I'm obeying the first commandment. I'm honoring Him as the all-power, overall, and an all in all. I am so grateful for Christian Science, so grateful for all that I have learned here and learning still. And I'm so grateful for the testimonies which really truly attest to what this truth is doing for all mankind. Happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you very much for the readings tonight. I'd like to express my gratitude for the clear, practical Christian science that is lived, shared, and taught here at Plainfield Christian Science Independent Church. Recently, before going to bed, I suddenly came down with a very sore throat. I immediately affirmed that this disease, illness, imposition could not keep me from the work that I had for God the next day, and that God's plan could not be interrupted or stopped. I challenged this with the Word of God, every thought that came, especially the one that said, well, you've been exposed to children, and I knew in my heart that I had many times faced this belief down, and it's proven this false law that's attached to them. I even saw once in a school that I worked in, working with a practitioner here, where a school-wide disease was suddenly stopped through prayer. I felt very firm and adamant about this situation. I went to our website and listened to the readings of our lessons that are written here and beautifully read. Before I fell asleep, the pain and other symptoms had significantly lessened. I felt a peace and confidence in God's care and that I would be in my right place doing what I needed to do. The next morning, I woke up free from all symptoms and had all the energy and strength and that was needed to go forth in the day, and also a continued clear vision of these beautiful children and their purity and innocence. I'm so grateful to be part of this church and its mission and to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kara, North Carolina.
Kara from North Carolina. Go ahead, please.
Thank you so much for tonight's reading and testimonies. A couple of hours before the meeting tonight, I got a clear message to write this testimony. And as I did, it led me to thinking about childlike trust in God, which was exactly what I needed to think about this week. And then came the beautiful readings. And I always hear so many things exactly when I need them during the week at these meetings and roundtables. And a few weeks ago, as I was praying about a lingering condition, Izzy in England shared her idea about creating a Christian Science video game. And I just loved the joyful enthusiasm in her voice as she spoke. And it reminded me of an idea that had come to me many years ago when I taught middle schoolers. And that idea, the memory of this idea, shifted what was going on for me. So I had this young student, and she had stopped turning in her homework. And when I asked what was happening, she told me in perfect seriousness that she was playing a video game, and she had to be available every afternoon and evening for a week, or the main character was going to die. Best "my dog ate my homework" story ever. I wanted to laugh, but instead I heard God suggest, ask her questions. So, admittedly, my first question was whether it seemed to her like a pretty big coincidence that video game time came at the same time as homework time. But she skirted that question by telling me that she promised it would only take a week. So then it came to me to ask her what she was learning from playing the game. And she explained that the game had levels. And in these levels, you learn a skill well enough to move on to the next level, where you learn the same skills but improve upon them. So she described how 3 spiders became 50 spiders, became 100 dragons, became 1,000 dragons, spewing fire. You get the idea. When I asked her whether she was ever scared she would fail or whether her character might die, she said, no. I know they won't let me go to the next level until I've learned what I need to get there. And I know the same thing will happen on every level. I can't fail unless I stop showing up and learning what I'm supposed to learn. That's why I love this game. Now, what struck me was, and I have to say this young girl had never been my most enthusiastic student, was her absolute fearless glee at playing this game. So I told her she could have the week and she just had to write a report on the game. Meanwhile, I couldn't stop thinking about what she'd been saying because I remembered in Sunday school being taught that we would be able to apply principles we learned in Sunday school if we had like a cold or a paper cut or lost something. And then if we learned those skills, then no matter how dire a situation would be, we could use those same skills. Except that among the Christian Scientists I grew up with, there wasn't really much enthusiastic glee for going up a level from a cold or a paper cut or lost keys. And in fact, I often felt there was judgment or fear, like, what am I doing wrong, that it's getting harder and harder. And after the student, the idea came to me to think about the suggestions of animal magnetism like a video game, that if I trusted that everything I learned with each level of Christian Science practice would prepare me for the next level, then I wouldn't see what was happening as anything other than real. But honestly, it took coming to Plainfield, where I heard about people demanding the blessing of every experience and seeing every trial as an opportunity for growth in grace, invoking the joy and the gratitude even when things were really hard. And I could hear over the phone, listening to testimonies or roundtables, the exact same fearless glee that I heard in my young students. And I realized, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I imagined that animal magnetism video game would be. And when Izzy shared that, I all of a sudden realized that what I needed that week was to invoke the childlike trust in God to help me remember that if a few spiders seem to be morphing into 1,000 fire-breathing dragons with big talons, all I need to do is to recognize them and recognize the whole experience as the video game called animal magnetism, trying to make me believe that I am separate from a God who might not be all-powerful. And then to rectify that by invoking the childlike joy, gratitude, eagerness, and trust that each of us will learn exactly what we need to go on to the next level. And that recognition shifted everything, and within a few hours, that lingering idea that there was some level I was going to be stuck at for quite a while was gone. Thank you so much, Plainfield, for living the practice of Christian Science, and to every single testifier who joyfully shares their video game experience with the rest of us.
Thank you.
Day, Georgia.
Day from Georgia. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I'm thankful for learning through Christian Science that instead of going from problem, I'm slowly but surely going from victory to victory. Through consistent and persistent prayer and the study of much of what we have available in this church, I'm learning that I'm perfectly equipped with the truth needed to meet and master every challenge presented. And as I overcome, I'm better prepared to press on with enough courage and confidence in truth to help another in need. I am so grateful to be learning to live in the love of God that makes me free to trust in and wholeheartedly rely on Him more each day, no matter what error aggressively tries to say. I'm thankful for the continued prayerful support of our practitioners and for all the work going on in this church. Thank you so much for tonight's meeting, for the readings, the music, and all of the testimonies given. I'm very grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Craig. Benjamin. Go ahead, Benjamin.
Thank you, Craig. As always, I was inspired by the reading tonight. The story of the centurion had inspired me for years. When we heard the word servant and master, they don't usually qualifies, in the same level. The world tend to see master or mistress, somebody way up there, and servant, somebody way down here. And it's been like that for centuries. When Jesus came, he completely destroyed this belief when he washed his students' feet, and he told them to do likewise. He also told them, when they were arguing among themselves, who will sit on his right hand or left hand, he told them the only qualification for that is to, be humble and be a good servant, as I have been to you all. So this story of the centurion, like he said, he was a man with authority who can command people, soldiers, to go, and they'll go and come back. He could have fired his servant and sent him home. He could have hired a new servant. Or he could have watched his servant suffer and die. But he loved his servant so much, like Jesus did, that he sought for Jesus Christ, knowing that Jesus has the power to heal his servant. And I think Jesus talked about him, that he never saw anyone that has such faith. And also, he had the humility to know that Jesus has the power to heal his servant. And he made that long walk looking for Jesus. And when he found him, he told him, "Speak the word, and my servant will be healed." I mean, listening to the reading and thinking about that, it just challenges me to live my life better and be a better person. I think that's what Mrs. A.D. came to show us as well. When he discovered Christian Science, she didn't keep it to herself. Instead, she lived it and she shared with the world, and she commanded us to do likewise as well. I'm really inspired tonight. I'm very happy that I'm here. I'm very happy for what I'm learning here. Christian Science is about living a life of example, being the light of the world. And no matter what you do in life, no matter what your position is, to use it to bless all mankind. Quite frankly, whatever your job is, if that job is not blessing other people, if that job is not giving you the opportunity to love and share God with the world, you probably are the wrong job. You should be able to live as Christ commanded us. I'm so happy to be here tonight. I'm happy for the testimonies. I'm happy for what God is doing here. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
I thank Gary for those readings, and I so thank the Mrs. A. Grady for laying it out how we are to learn and grow in Christian Science by giving us her many works and putting the Bible and science help together so we could have that guide to and I find that as we learn more and more, understand that especially in the morning, it's put to do first thing in the morning to do this, that when I go out or when I expect the best of everything. And when I face things and if it doesn't seem right, I know it, and I try to do what I prayerfully led to do to make it right. But I believe this is all because we have this discipline to know the good, know what God made, and to differentiate it from what is otherwise. And so it means a whole lot. And I think that's the secret to why I've been able to progress some. I've had recently a chronically sore shoulder that often awakes me at night. And so I could not go back to sleep until it was dealt with. And I remember Mrs. Eddy says on page 260, rightly understood, instead of possessing a sentient body, he has a spiritual body. That's not the exact phrase, but it's on page 280, line 26 of Science and Health. Well, I thought about this, and I wouldn't accept the pain, and I started working, knowing scientific statement of being, that we do every week, that I'm spiritual, not material. And I continued and started feeling better. And I went to Mary Baker Eddy's evening's prayer, Mother's evening prayer. She talks about keep my child safe on your wing tonight, and shows how important it is to be childlike. And how important all of us need to be childlike and let God care for us. Well, I felt that God was just lifting me up. Only with thine eye can I behold the snare, the pit, the fall. And I felt that he was just cuddling me, and soon I was asleep, and everything was just fine. I woke up the next morning, and I felt great. It did happen again, and I did the same thing, and I felt great again. I thank God for always being there, and it's true for always working, and Mary Baker Eddy for showing us how to use it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary.
Good evening, everyone. Gary just told me to keep it short, so I will. I'll just read a few things and save the rest for next time. The first, Canada. We truly have the gift of God in Christian Science. I'm reminded of a very recent Unity Watch that gave us an excerpt from Mrs. Eddy in Miscellany, and which has filled my thought since. And it goes as follows, quote, Christian Science is a divine largesse, a gift of God, understood by and divinely natural to him who sits at the feet of Jesus, clothed in truth, who is putting off the hypothesis of matter because he is conscious of the allness of God, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith. And then one more tonight. This is Virginia. I've been battling with demons and not seeming to get out from under this cloud. Then I remembered the quote from Science and Health, page 201. The way to extract error from mortal mind is to pour in truth through flood tides of love. I sat down with the March 2023 Love is the Liberator and didn't get up until I felt free and happy. I am so grateful for the history of truth, for all the proofs of this living love, for the explanations of how we may know that now we are the sons of God, for the sharing of people's experiences in proving this, in the many direct quotes from Mary Baker Eddy on our real identity, on the positive effect the Christian Science Board of Directors acknowledging Mrs. Eddy's place had during World War II, and for many expressions of gratitude. All in all, I'll include a quote from an 1887 journal article found on page 15 of The Liberator. Quote, in the realm of love, we rise to higher thought, the darkness disappears, and we realize something of the great light of the universe. Thank you for pouring in truth through flood tides of love in the March, Love is the Liberator. I, too, am so grateful for those readings tonight, always to be reminded to just be as a little child, humble and taking our Father's hand with great trust. I was interested in what was written tonight in that last testimony about the great light of the universe. because today one of our members, Nathan in California, was telling me something I hadn't heard about. It's called the James Webb Telescope. And Nathan sent me the most incredible pictures that this telescope has taken of the universe. And, we call it outer space because we think it's just space and maybe darkness, black holes and things like that. Well, these pictures were incredible, of gorgeous color. What he brought out was the universe is not just empty space, it's filled with substance and with light. And that's what these pictures showed. Somehow I'll have to get Jeremy to put it on the website, but I think you could also just Google the James Webb Telescope. It cost $10 billion, observatory, and that they had 21 gold-plated mirrors for the gathering of this light. But it was so beautiful to see the universe so lit up with the substance and light. And honestly, how could it be otherwise? Because this is what we know in science. And the other thing that Nathan saw, he sent me at Easter these beautiful pictures of the stained glass windows in the Mother Church. And some of those windows look just like the pictures of the stars and things on this telescope. It was quite extraordinary that he had found the sort of the connection between the two. Anyway, it was just beautiful and magnificent, as of course we know our universe is, filled with light and the substance of God. So I'm so grateful to be here tonight. Such beautiful hymns and music, such beautiful testimonies, so uplifting. And I'm trying very hard to keep it short. So have a good night.